Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with me, Venus O'Hara. An orgasmic lifestyle is about reaching a climax in all areas of life, not just in the bedroom. Here, we dive deep with expert guests on topics like nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Together, we'll explore lifestyle lessons to help you lead a life that's fulfilling, joyful, and unapologetically orgasmic. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 123 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this new moon episode, we discuss female friendships. We speak with Tova Leigh, who is a very successful content creator with over 2 million followers and many books. She's also the author of Good Girls Gossip, Find Your Female Power. The episode ends with a guided meditation with affirmations for finding aligned friendships. But first of all, let me share with you some of my struggles with female friendship. Usually when I record these monologues before the interview, they are usually recorded after the interview, so I kind of know what I'm introducing, or I know there is a springboard of an idea that has come from the interview that actually influences or inspires this monologue. But not today. I'm doing it the other way around. So I'm really even more intrigued about my conversation with Tova Leigh, especially now that I'm halfway through her book, Good Girls Gossip, Find Your Female Power. At first, as I've already shared with you, the title kind of really impacted me in a way that was very intriguing, because I think of the word gossip and I don't think of, it doesn't really have a good connotation, but she has a kind of different way of understanding that word, that the origins were not necessarily negative. And the book is all about female friendships and getting your female tribe, being supported by other women. And that, of course, is a wonderful thing. But there's something in me that is feeling inspired to speak about girl code and female friendship betrayal. Oh my God. I'm going to talk about a story that happened to me when I was about 14. And it still kind of makes me feel kind of, I don't know, sad or provoked. Just kind of sad, I think, not so much for what was done to me, but also for my own self-perception and self-concept and how I assumed this idea that my needs were not important. And this is something that has become my core belief, or my core wound, not my core belief, my core wound throughout life. And that's something that I've had to work with. I actually did a session with a healer earlier this year about core wounds, and that was the one, I am not important. And this stems from many experiences in my life. I'm going to share a little anecdote with you that was extremely painful for me when I was about 14. So at the age of 14, I was very curious. I wanted to get to know the boys. I wanted to kiss the boys. And there was a guy that I really liked. And in those days, relationships were not like, adult relationships. It's more about just asking your friend, oh, can you kiss him? It was a really kind of weird thing where there was no conversation. You just kind of meet and kiss, and then people would maybe watch you as well. It was kind of weird how we were discovering these parts of our lives, or these curiosities that we didn't really know how to express. And there's lots of taboo around it as well. So I really liked this guy. And I used to kiss him now and again, but we never, went on dates or anything like that. And yeah, he was a nice guy. But my best friend at the time decided that she liked him too, and it was an attraction that she couldn't just deal with. And she told me that I like him. I want to kiss him too. And I was just thinking, oh my God, I felt so hurt, because this friend was an amazing friend to me. She was my rock during many moments of teenage angst, because I had a very intense teenage adolescence. I mean, I just discovered my rebellious traits, and I realized that I was such a misfit. From the age of around 11, I suddenly felt, I didn't fit in anywhere. but I wasn't going to deny my existence to try and fit into places where that didn't feel right to me. So this particular friend was someone that I really identified with. We were kind of similar in our misfit struggles. So she was my rock in so many ways. And I cried almost every day when I was a teenager. They're very dark years for me. And she was amazing. So for this person to say, I'm going to kiss the guy that you like, was, it was a massive bombshell in my world at the time. It was awful. Because at school, I mean, you're going into school every day. You don't have, I didn't really have a life outside school. I couldn't avoid this person, and I didn't have any other friends at school. So it was her or nothing kind of thing. So I kind of put up with this situation, and I was just, I don't know what I said, but I was just absolutely shocked. And I thought I would never do that to her. I would never do that to someone else. And so I know that they had arranged to meet after school, and it was a Wednesday. And I just went home knowing that this kiss was scheduled and about to take place. And I just hoped in my heart of hearts that it wouldn't happen, or that finally she would think, oh, actually, I'm not going to do that because of her friendship with me. But no, and the thing is, with these kind of the girl code, if it's for love, who am I to stand in the way of true love? But it wasn't. It was just curiosity. And that's something that I just don't understand. I think if you have a curious kind of attraction for someone, it can be fleeting. You don't break up a friendship for it. I mean, that's my way of seeing it. I know not everyone feels that way, but anyway, I remember going home just thinking, I hope she's going to kind of remember me and our friendship. And the next morning when I saw her at school, so were you with him? And she said, yeah. And it was kind of like, she said it wasn't even very good. And oh my God, I was just thinking the damage was kind of done. It was just a one-off thing, but still, that pain was still there. And I had to kind of really almost erase my own feelings of disappointment. And I had no one to talk to about it. I had absolutely no one, because the friends we had were all in common, and I didn't want to speak about her behind her back. I didn't really know how to speak to her about it either. But I just assumed this thing that, my needs, my feelings are not important. And this betrayal, I just need to get over it, because if she wants to do that and he wants to, who am I? So I had to really carry this for a long, long, long time. And I kind of want to give my 14-year-old self a little hug there, because this incident really highlighted my aloneness, I think, and this core belief and this core wound of not feeling important and just feeling so isolated and not having anyone to go to about this. And later in life with betrayal, I just don't understand when, there is a very special connection between women when we are, friends and accomplices and people that you can actually, partners in crime, people we can actually share our secrets with and who support you and who are on call when you need them. But when there's a betrayal, it hurts so much. And I can think of another time when I was, I don't know, I used to have this, well, I still have little people-pleasing tendencies, but I used to give a lot of female friends free vibrators, and it wasn't just because I was being generous. I actually wanted something in return. I wanted friendship. I wanted validation as well. I actually stopped doing that now. So no more orgasm presents for my friends. So they have to earn them, absolutely. But I was giving away toys to people who didn't really deserve them, to be honest. And I remember it was a Christmas time, and I went round to a friend's house, and I was giving her this free toy, and she made me tea, and she said to me, "How was your Christmas?" And I filled her in, and I said, "I've started seeing this guy. He's so nice." And she kind of, her face lit up and thought, yeah, he's an interesting guy. So I shared all of how, we got together on Christmas Day, which was so romantic. It was so amazing. And then the next thing I know, just a couple of months after, when things between me and him were not going so well, she just messages me out of the blue and says, "Hey, I hope you don't mind, but I'm meeting up with this guy now. I hope it doesn't affect our connection." She didn't use the word friendship. She used connection. And I thought, wow. Well, first of all, I was glad that she told me. And I thought that was really a low move of him to actually, make a move on my friend just after we were kind of over. It was, figuratively speaking, the bed was still warm. But I felt incredibly betrayed by her, because she knew how much I had liked him and how, how that had been, how influential his presence in my life had been. And I shared confidences with her, and then suddenly she's just meeting up with him. And it was just a curious shag. It wasn't, it wasn't a love story at all. And then, Barcelona is a very small place, and I've had to kind of see her around. We have friends in common, and it's super awkward. I just think, why do that? It's almost like sleeping with people at work. You just, unless there's some, like, it's a very personal opinion here, unless there's some kind of raging desire or some kind of love story, why take that risk, So anyway, I just decided not to speak to either of them in the future, because I don't just want to blame the woman. I think that was a very low move on his behalf as well. But I mean, if they wanted to do it, who am I to stand in their way? But don't expect me to be your friend. Absolutely not. And this guy kept reaching out to me over and over after that incident, just to try and be my friend. And I was just thinking, I do not accept friends like this in my life. Definitely not. And for me, I just don't feel attracted to my friends' partners. It's just, for me, it's like an off thing. It's as if they were my relatives. Like, no, I don't even look at them, And I think it's important to have female friends that you can, or any friends of any gender that you can actually feel a safe space and trust, and know that whatever you're sharing is not going to be used against you in some way. Because I've experienced that a lot in the past, and it really hurts. Sometimes a friendship breakup can be more painful than a relational or kind of intimate breakup. It really, really, really hurts. It's super awkward. So yeah, and also there's lots of friends involved, like common friends and all of that. But anyway, speaking of female friend betrayal, I'm so excited to speak to Tova Leigh about this, because what I've read in her book so far, it's all about the positive side of female friendships and how we can really support each other, which of course we should be able to do that, and it is a beautiful thing. But I just wonder how she's going to view these other nuances of the female friendship, such as honoring someone's secrets, not just repeating them, because that's quite common, and also the girl code. So yeah, let's get juicy. I cannot wait to hear what she has to say about all of this. What if your pleasure was the portal to your power? My new book, Orgasmic Manifestation, Transform Your Life with Your Sexual Energy, by Venus O'Hara, is your guide to using desire as a tool for abundance, purpose, and deep self-connection. Your orgasm is more than a moment. It's a message, a manifestation, a mirror of your limitless potential. Available now on Amazon. Link in the show notes below. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We speak with Tova Leigh, who is the author of Good Girls Gossip, Find Your Female Power. Tova Leigh, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast, where every day is a climax. Your second time here. Welcome back.
I just love that intro. Thank you so much for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Amazing. It's the fourth time that we speak, actually. So super interesting, because the first time you interviewed me, I had Bell's palsy, so I didn't want to smile. Remember? And then we had that women's life choices chat, which was super interesting, which is also very aligned with your book now. And then with the confessions that we did on here on the podcast. Yeah.
I know. It's always nice to see you again.
Likewise. So the title really, Good Girls Gossip.
Good Girls Gossip. Yeah.
Wow, I love a bit of alliteration. So what was the inspiration?
Well, I feel like this title is slightly triggering,
Yeah.
as I've been told. But you know what? I guess like I'm reclaiming. I mean, I'm reclaiming the word gossip, but the book is not a history lesson, although I do go through like why gossip and the history of the word gossip and how it evolved throughout history, to become what we know today, which is like talking not very nicely about people behind their back, which isn't very nice and nobody wants that. But actually, originally didn't actually mean that at all. It meant effectively female friendships. And it's the whole idea of women being stripped of our greatest power, in my opinion. So the whole book is about finding your female power. But in my opinion, the female power lies in our ability to communicate. and to build communities, and that kind of like sisterhood that comes from talking and chit chatting and sharing wisdom and knowledge with each other, and just like, having no filter on what we say to each other, which is women's greatest strength. And yeah, I feel like demonetizing the word gossip and basically women coming together and talking and sharing that wisdom and stories and knowledge was a way really to silence women and to strip us of that power. So the title is reclaiming that as a concept, as a word. But of course, the whole book is about finding your female power through different areas that I basically go through in the book.
Mm. Great. I was actually triggered by the title.
You're
I think I have some
not the only
sister
one. It's
wounds,
okay.
but that's a good thing, I guess, that people have a reaction to it. But you actually did define gossip. Would you like to share with us what the original definition of gossip was?
Yes. So originally, like I said, I mean, in a nutshell, meant female friendship. So women coming together and helping each other in different settings. One of the settings being actually during childbirth, um, but not just that. And then just throughout history, you see the kind of the word sort of changing its meaning slowly but surely when patriarchal systems were put in place, and I guess, there's the whole like isolation of women. I talk a lot about it in the book. This is like the first chapter of the book is actually called Good Girls Don't Gossip. And
Mm,
I tell the whole history. And I felt like a slightly, because my books are very personal, and the
mm,
whole book has a lot of stories about me, about other women that I met. And I say, let's gossip about, because the whole
mm,
point is that I'm telling other people's stories. But the reason being is that I don't know if you know this. There's actually a statistic, and I now forgot who did this research. I think the name is also in the book, but that only about 3% of gossip is actually malice, like is not nice. And in fact, most of the gossip isn't not nice. So you could be talking about someone else, but actually saying nice things about them. You could be talking about someone else because you're concerned about them. You could be talking about someone else because actually you're reflecting on your own life through, the lens of what's happening to them. And maybe you're even sharing stories about someone else with another friend because there's a life lesson there worth knowing. So, I sort of wanted to break that down, but to be very clear, obviously, that talking about other people behind their back and saying nasty things is not a nice thing to do, of course. But my argument is that that's not normally what happens. Um, yeah, sorry, I went off. I went
No,
off.
not at all. I think it's really worth because I think I had to sigh of relief when I read that first chapter. Like, okay, it's not about that because I have some issues that I've been experiencing with female friendships of late. So it is a kind of a bit of a wound of my
Yeah.
2025 so far. But I'll get into that. So what inspired you to write this book now? How is
Not you're not the first one to say that. So actually, I've been running female empowerment retreats in the Algarve for the past 3 years. I moved to Portugal 3 years ago, and decided to do this because I obviously have built a big online community over the last 10 years, and it's been amazing. And I've loved connecting with women from all over the world in a virtual world. But I always knew that this is limited because it's not the same as when you are in a room with other women and you get to hold their hand or hug them or sit in a circle with them. It's just different. And I do shows as well. I perform, and my favorite bit about the shows is actually the 20-minute or 30-minute after the show that I actually stay and chat to people in person. So when I moved to Portugal, it was obvious to me that I was going to create something that meant that people would be able to meet in person. And retreats has been an idea and a passion, like something I wanted to do for a while. And finally, I live in a country that has the weather for it. So I started doing female empowerment retreats, and we do lots of things. But the point is that so many women wrote to me when they applied to the retreat saying, oh, I really want to do this, but God, spending 5 days with women, this is going to be awful. Like, how is this going to work? I've got all this bad experience with women. Women can be catty and jealous and competitive and not very nice with each other. Trust me, so many women, like 50% of the women who applied to my retreat said that was their kind of biggest concern, not the traveling far away, not anything, just that. And I can tell you 100% hand on my heart that has never been an issue, because I believe, and honestly, I've seen it, and I say it in the book, that when you put women together in a safe space where it's, there's no men, there's no problems, there's just us, and you create that kind of environment of like, this is all about sisterhood and about us actually sharing and learning from each other. It's just something you can't even explain it in words, like how that works. And I remember after the first retreat, there was one woman specifically who was very concerned about that. And we always ask for feedback after the retreat. And her feedback was literally, oh my God, I walked away from this retreat loving women. I never liked women.
Mm.
Secretly, my best friends have always been men. I've never liked women. I've never liked spending time with women. And I've walked away from this retreat fucking loving women. um, so it's doable. It's doable. Like, I get it. I know
Mm.
it's an experience that many women have, but I think like it's time for us to break it down, like to just really fight against that. And one of the ways to do it is actually create women's circles. So this idea of having a circle of just women, where you have maybe a facilitator that knows how to kind of like run these environments, and to create this kind of space where it's safe. And for it to be safe, you have to be able to communicate your boundaries, which again, I talk about in the book. So like any type of group workshop, whether it's a women's circle or other workshop, the first thing you have to do is be able to talk about boundaries, so that that if someone, that people know how to stand their boundaries, they know how to assert their boundaries, communicate them, because that's the only way we can feel safe, is if someone says, actually, this is my boundary. So you're safe, right?
Mm.
Because you know that the person, and also, and which by the way isn't an easy thing to do, and especially for women, I think can be a bit tricky to do, and also to be able to accept someone's boundary, because a lot of the times we feel that as a rejection. I talk about that in the book as well. When somebody says no, most times it has nothing to do with us, it just has to do with their own boundary.
And
They're
women are
not
not
ready.
very good at saying no, though, are we?
No, we're not going to take no, but we're also, I find sometimes hard to take a no, to
Uh,
to receive a no can be very, it can sort of like feel like a rejection. But actually, a lot of conversation about boundaries, I think, is really important in those kind of spaces. And then once you get over that, really, it's just amazing to see women share what we have to share, because we have so much to share,
mm. I think what come to mind with me is there's two particular wounds, and I was really looking forward to talking to you about these wounds, just to see what your perspective is on them. And one of them is when we talk about safe spaces. For me, something that's super important is discretion, and I don't think women are very good at that in my experience. Like, let's just say that nothing goes out of this circle, because I mean, so many times someone repeats something, oh yeah, so and so, and they talk about their private stuff. And I find that very, very triggering because, as you probably know yourself, having a public profile, when one of your friends is not a public person and then they tell another person about something that's very offline for you, and then they can message you on Instagram and say, oh, yeah, I'm a friend of so and so, I've heard all about you. And I find that, because the more public you become, the more sacred the private becomes. So
Yeah.
that even if you're not a public person, but still just that repetition of what's sacred and private. I just don't think we're very good at that sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I hear you. Well, first of all, I'm like the opposite from you. I feel like my whole life is like out on the internet. I've been very vocal about a lot of very private things. I think for me, I do it probably because well, first of all, I'm an oversharer, but like not in a bad way. I also feel like in my experience in the 10 years that I've been online, every time I've shared something that has been maybe highly personal or a bit taboo, out of the box, blah, 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 it's actually resonated so much with people. And there's a lot of people out there who actually feel less alone knowing that someone else is going through the same thing. And I've felt less alone. So it's given me comfort. But I hear you. And especially now, my children are a bit older now, so their friends are online. I'm a little bit more careful, a little bit, but when I say a little bit, I really do mean a tiny bit. So like a little bit more careful, just because, their friends are online, and I want to make sure that what might be out there is things that they know already and they know them from me. And we have had conversations about them just so that there's never like, oh, I heard that your mom and they didn't know. So that's a tricky one. But yeah, of course. I think when I talk about being able to talk about other people, because I do that, but I don't mention names. So it's kind of
Mm.
important maybe to not mention names. Like if you
Yeah,
say,
yeah, for sure.
oh, I've got another friend that's gone through something super similar, and actually, this is what helped her, or this is what she did, but you don't have to maybe share who that person is.
Mm.
And I guess that's like the line you maybe need to try and not cross, because I get it. And I also think that it's funny because I told a friend recently something very private, and I said to her, I actually would really appreciate if you didn't say it to your husband just don't like, I don't want your husband to know. And it's a tricky request because
Yeah.
that it's like, she's going to tell her husband. I'm like, and she's like, oh no. And I was like, but I really mean it. Like, just don't tell your husband, because I know what it's like. But yeah, it's one of those things. But do you think women are worse at that? I feel like men do it as well. Like, no?
I think I'm not saying that all men don't gossip, but I think they have an opposite problem, which is I remember years ago when I was in Ireland and listening to a conversation about Leicester winning the league, and I was like, wow, imagine that being important. In a conversation and people talking about football to actually bond, and there's no. So I find that's the opposite, but there's that expression of, small minds talk about people and mediocre minds talk about events, and then great minds talk about ideas. And recently, I decided
Yeah.
that I didn't really want to. There was some things that I was going through I didn't want to share with some female friends, and I felt like I had to avoid them because they're going to interrogate me, and I didn't know how to say, "Hey, this is a boundary." So
Hmm.
because a lot of the time it is sharing about updates about what you've been up to, and I just became a little bit more private, and also about the on my podcast is where I'm the most open. I share a lot of stuff on the podcast more than at any other platform. And some of my friends have thought that just because I was open on the podcast meant that there was a open license on my life, which of course there
Sure.
isn't. And I think they know that I know where the filter is, but a lot of people don't. And it's just not about me, just me. But when I hear someone tell me, oh yeah, I wanted to buy a house with this girl, but she's only got this much savings, I'm like, wow, I don't know this person, but I know how much savings she's got. And I feel uncomfortable having that type of knowledge about people that they don't know that I know, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I find it's just I find that honesty is becoming very important to me in my core values with friends as well, like trust and honesty. And so I think those things are quite violated a lot in terms of these gossips, or not having a shared space or a safe space that's properly safe where it doesn't go beyond those walls, that kind of thing.
It's
Mm.
tricky. It's tricky. We live now in like a smaller circle. Like it's like a village.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. It's very interesting. It's funny because I grew up in that kind of environment actually, because I grew up in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem's a big city, but still the circles were quite small. And I actually remember that was one of the motivators to leave Jerusalem, was to get out of that kind of like, everybody knows you, everybody knows your business, everybody talks about everybody, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the big city and sort of
And
be
make them
anonymous.
talk about you even more.
Yeah, wait, and be anonymous. And then I was for a certain amount of years, and now I'm like this complete overshare on the internet. It's like a full circle, and I've come back to living in a village. So there you go.
Wow. So speaking of expat life, how do you find that? Because I live in Barcelona, so I find I've been here for many, many years. I think there's lots of transient people like come in and out, and that affects friendships a lot. That can be good and bad. Like sometimes friendships fade, and then you just heard, oh, they've gone back to their country. Like, thank God for that. I don't have to bump into them again because these expat communities can be quite small. I'm just wondering, is it different for you having children because you might attract different types of expats who are there for the long haul, and in terms of friend forming
I feel
friendship.
like it's a bit of a Russian roulette because you
Uh-huh.
don't know. It's like this kind of like dating. You go out and you're like,
Mhm.
tell me what your plan is. I need to know your 5 to 10 year plan just to know if I'm going to be friends with you. And that was something that I literally thought about when I lived in London. Beginning of my time in London, I had a few friends who I made friends with, and then they left. And I thought, oh my God, I suddenly hit me like, what? And then I started like asking people when I met them, like, so are you here for good? Like, how long are you here for? But this time round, I'm not really concerning myself with that. I have actually had two very good friends move back to their countries
Oh,
in
wow.
3 years. So, it's I've experienced that again, and it's really sad, and but then again, it's also part of the fun somehow, like, because you sort of feel like people come in and out of your life for a season
Mm,
and for a reason, and you sort of, you get to experience everything you get to experience with them, and then you move on. And it maybe it's good for my personality because I'm, I like change.
mm,
I
mm,
thrive on change. So yeah, but we've made some amazing friends. I love the international community in these places. It's just so exciting, such great people, and we've also been really lucky to have made local friends, Portuguese friends, which is it's a bit harder to do because, they've got their lives and families, and it's a bit harder. But people who do send their kids to international schools. So I love the fact that we've got Portuguese friends as well. And it's just a really nice community. And we're so happy here. I need to come to Barcelona. I know Barcelona also has the same kind of vibe. I'm waiting to do that trip.
absolutely. Hopefully, we'll see you at the sex toy fair next year.
I want to come. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
want to come. That was not intended,
Literally.
but I do
Yeah.
want to come. Yes.
Have you been here before?
No,
Oh,
never, never.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is it? When's the sex trade show? When is it?
It's usually in May,
In
so
May.
just about 3 weeks ago. But yeah, it's really great. It's a perfect time to come here as well.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
invited a while ago to come and visit Erica Lust,
Mm.
Barcelona, but it didn't happen. I was so gutted. Another time.
A lot to see here.
Yeah.
Definitely. Another thing that I find interesting in your book as well is that you talked about in the beginning of the book about how you were experiencing a problem with someone and then you wanted to offload and you didn't want to be called a gossip. I thought that was super interesting because I had something similar happen to me because I didn't want to talk about a certain person because of like I didn't want to just lower the vibration for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. But I was very mindful because I knew that this person that was upset me, she knew other people that we know, and I didn't want to be, the person. But then I realized, no, I'm owning this. I feel a certain way, and I want to talk about it. And that's something that happened to you as well, isn't it? When you were growing up.
Yeah, I tell a
Yeah.
story of when I was, a young girl, and it was basically the first time I ever heard the word gossip because I hadn't come across it, I guess. And I was just talking to a friend about another friend who annoyed me, and I don't even remember what it was about, but I just remember the incident. And we're coming back from school, and her elder sister had pointed out, like, good girls don't gossip, or said something along those lines, like, don't be a gossip. And then I asked my mom what that meant, and but it was also the idea of just needing to be a good girl. And again, going back to the way to silence women, because what she was saying to me is like, shut up, basically. Um, and and just the idea of what does it mean to be a good girl? A good girl
Mm.
is polite, a good girl does what she's told, a good girl doesn't kick up a fuss, and all these type of things. Yeah, so I just shared that little anecdote. And I guess again, this isn't about let's go speak about other people. It's not about that. The title is a book title, obviously.
Mhm.
And I think it's interesting for people to know the origins of the word gossip and to ponder about the idea of how vilifying women talking is a way to silence women. And again, I talk about different things that happen in history that really prove this,
Mm.
with the bridal, whatever it was called. I can't say that word, but the sort of the devices that they built to put on women's mouths, like for real, to just prevent them from actually speaking. Yes, bridal skull,
Oh, I've
something.
never heard of that. Oh, was that in your book? I've not got that far.
No,
Wow.
yeah, and so literally, and it was like not from talking badly about other people. This is the point. It was just from talking at all, and you see that even today in Afghanistan.
Mm.
Taliban coming up with all these rules about women not being able to congregate, not being able to speak. To speak in public. It's not about them gossiping about other people. It's just about speaking, because the thing is, I do think that our strength is in our pack, when we are a pack, when we are together. And the way to disable that is to just, to separate us. And what better way to do it with saying, like, don't speak. And so much of, you know, I give a long list in the book of, different sayings, all sayings from different cultures that basically they mock women being chatty. They make
Mm.
fun of us for being talkative.
Mm.
But really, what an amazing skill to be able to communicate so well, to be verbal, to be able to, to tell stories. And, might I remind everybody that once upon a time, we didn't have audiobooks, and we didn't have podcasts, and we didn't have the internet. And the way that history was brought down from generations, and stories, and learnings, and how to do things, was through the stories that, guess who told? Women told the stories,
Wow.
so it's like, it's this amazing mega superpower that actually we have, that's been labeled as something really bad and awful, and people have focused on the 3% that might be bad, and have made it all about that. So, that's kind of like the title. But like I said, each chapter in the book starts with me gossiping about
Yeah.
someone. And obviously, these are real people that have completely been changed, the names, the places, the everything. There's no way you can ever know who the people are. And also, sometimes the stories have been changed. It's just the essence of the story has remained, so that there's no issue here. And you can never identify who the people are. But the point is that every story has a reason why I'm sharing it. It's something that resonates with other women, I'm sure, like the person, the situation they were in, the thing that happened to them, the learning that they had. And then I go into a topic. And the topics have actually come from the female empowerment retreat. So I built a whole program around female empowerment, and it's tackling different issues that I think a lot of women can resonate with from boundaries to shame to body image, pleasure, needs, wisdom, doing less, all these things,
Yeah.
that we all kind of like, that I feel like make up a sort of roadmap. Yeah, and I share a lot of my own stories as well.
Yeah, I think something I read about the part about, people feeling guilty about booking the retreat. I can really resonate with that, even though I don't have children or I'm not married. I think that's a kind of generic women thing, just not
Yeah.
the lack of self-prioritization because we put ourselves last a lot of the time.
Yeah. I'm always
Mm.
in awe by the women who actually apply and come and go through and show up at the retreat. They're so brave because, you know, actually talking about privacy, I don't really share a lot of what happens in the retreat because I really value these women's privacy. So you don't really know what we do there, and that's okay. It might not be the best marketing tactic, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. And they just show up, and I'm like, gosh, you girls are so brave. And even I run my own retreats, right? And I was thinking of doing a retreat. Like, I wanted to go on a retreat here in Portugal, and it was a hard decision. It's hard. You have to take time off. You're going away from your family. You're saying this money is worth investing in me. It's a big deal, so I think that was another reason why I thought the book would be good, because the book makes the ideas more accessible to more women. It's an
Mm.
easier, do you know what I mean? It's an easier commitment. I mean, you still have to sit down and read the book
Yeah.
and prioritize that, take the time to read the book, but it's a first step, and it's less than the commitment for the retreat. Yeah.
I just love retreats in general. The first time I went on a retreat was Christmas 2019. And I was thinking, who goes on a retreat at Christmas? And what kind of weirdos are going to go on a Christmas retreat? And it was actually 11 women, because these things do tend to attract more women. It wasn't
Yeah.
exclusively women, but it just attracted women organically. And half of them, they just recently become divorced or separated. So the first Christmas without kids.
Sure.
And one of them, it was 20 after 25 years. So it was a massive deal. But I find in retreats, you kind of escaping your life to face yourself. And when you meet people on retreats, their bonds are quite deep, because it's not just like, where are you from? What do you do? It's my
Yeah.
name is, and this is my pain. This is my trauma. It's a trauma bond in a beautiful way, because there's a lot of depth. Would you say?
Yeah, agreed.
Mm.
Agreed. And this is what I've also found in the retreats, that A lot of a lot of the times they come thinking, I'm going to learn, I'm going to like, this is what I'm going to do. And they do, but really it's about the bonds that they make with the other women that is the most, I think, special thing about it, you know? And exactly for the reason you said, because
Mm.
you meet on such a deeper level. It's really not about what you do and blah, blah, where do you live and all that. It's not like that at all. You immediately just see the absolute core of the person, and it's so and the vulnerability and all of that. It's amazing.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
one of my pain points about female friendships, I don't know if you cover, I'm about, I'm to page 160, so I'm not sure if you've covered this in your books. I've not finished it, but something about girl code.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is something that I find is a pain point for me for many reasons. Like the lack of trust
Yeah.
with among women sometimes, because it's very kind of fast connection then burnout. That's the kind of thing I've experienced a lot of the time, because there is that intermediate, let's talk about each other's life stories, each other's pain points and all of that, and there's a big bond that's formed. But then how trustworthy is that bond? And what about if the woman likes your guy, or that kind of, or the kind of woman who's always with married men, that kind of woman? I mean, it's just I just find that really triggering. Do you
Yeah.
have any thoughts on that?
Wonder though, like I always think that again, I know that's a genuine experience. It is. It's a genuine experience. I would try to think though, like where does it come from?
Mm,
Even the sort of like I'll steal your guy type of thing is, I
mm,
think, comes from the again the conception, the lie that
mm,
women have been told for generations, which is that we should compete over the guy because the guy is the point of
mm,
it. That's the point. That's what we should be aiming for, and that's the trophy at the end of the story. And then you've got theories like the 80-20 theory, which put women in this kind of like, sort of paranoia slash like, oh my God, how do you state of mind, the 80-20 theory being that, what is it, 80% of women want to date 20% of the men. So
uh-huh.
basically it says that the pool of men that are dateable is much smaller than the pool of women who are dateable. Hence, we should compete with each other because there's not enough men. And that has been shoved down women's throats for generations. I don't even know when that theory actually came to life, but it's been a long time because I remember that from when I was young. I remember that. I remember that being told to me. And when that is the premise, which by the way is how do you say it, you see it, it's not even about whether you've heard the theory or not per se. You get that message through media, from the movies you've watched and grown up on, the books you read, all the romantic books that you read, all of them have told you the story of men fighting over men over and over and over again.
Mm,
Yes, and a man is the trophy, and there's too many women who want the man, and he just gets to sit there like a knob and choose the best one. And then you have to improve yourself and be better and better and better and better than all your other sisters to get the guy. And there's always a woman that's there to stab you in the back and steal him away. That's the story. That is the story we've been told. And there's still a lot of women who subscribe to that story, is my point.
yeah, but I think it's when you've been on the receiving end of it, it's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
it's
It's
very
very
hard.
real. Of
Yeah,
course.
because
Yeah.
when you see friends doing that, you think, can I trust that person? Because a lot of times when you discover someone is attached, you just take a step back, as any decent person would, in my opinion. But it takes a certain type of person to pursue anyway, I think. Yeah.
Think that the more we talk about that, the more we break it down, and the more we try and highlight that to more and more women,
Mm,
then we break it down. I see it in my comment section.
mm,
Don't worry. Like I see it all the time, women saying and stuff. And it's yeah, I feel like the way I talk to my daughters, like now, if we watch movies and it's about like Mean Girls, Candy Girl, blah, 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 I will always pause and say like, this is a narrative. This is a narrative. And it exists. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not, but it's a narrative that I think exists because women have been put in that box. I don't believe that that is our true nature. And it's up to us to sort of to change it. And it's things like this that I think help these type of conversations,
Absolutely.
the women's circles where it's just women and it's women's circles, and you know all these things. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's very painful. So what else am I going to ask you? A couple of questions I ask everyone in my podcast, but I've asked these questions before. I remembered your answers from last time.
Oh God.
What was the book that changed your life? Do you remember what you said?
Was it was it maybe Women Who Run with Wolves?
Yeah, and I actually bought it, and I'm kind of halfway through because someone else, Keanu Reeves, or Keanu Reeves, she's a sex educator from the US. She's very inspirational, but she also said the same book, and I was like, okay, two people say it. I need to get this book.
Did you read it?
I'm halfway through, but I think it's amazing in terms of just feminine energy and wild women. I think it's fantastic.
I think the book, like, it's funny because I've read it now twice. I might
Mhm.
read it again. Yeah, I will read it again probably. But anyway, what I took away from it in my 20s is so different from what I took
Oh,
away
really?
40s. Yeah. Like I just remembered it being completely life-changing in my 20s. And then I thought, okay, I'll read it. And I read it again a few years ago. And I was like, gosh, I don't remember any of this. Like this is like
Mm,
a new book. And I feel like the book there's like two parts of it. The
mm.
first part is very spiritual and almost like I almost like didn't get through it this time. I was like, oh, why did
It's
this
heavy.
it's heavy. Like, why did this resonate? And then the second half goes into stories more like
Mm.
about women or archetypes. And then I was like, yeah, yeah, I get it now. This is the bit. But I'm so glad you're reading it. I have to hear what you think about it when you finish.
Yeah, it's taking a long time because I have this. 'Cause I read a lot of books for this podcast, so I have to kind of I have a section called "The Book I'm Reading Now." The book I'm reading now. So I actually put yours on the last episode. But it's not necessarily a review. It's just about how the book has impacted me and why I'm reading it. So, and I said that's a good way for me to kind of promote your
Uh,
coming episode. And then another question I asked you. Well, I really loved the one about the woman, the bones, the skeleton woman. I just love that story. It's about a woman being thrown off a cliff, horrible thing to happen, but she gets in the sea and then she dies. Then she's just a load of bones, and then a fisherman picks her up, and then while he's asleep, she gets his heart and it's a drum, and then all the flesh comes back. And it's all about the message is all about, accepting the ugly side of people and love and all that. I just took away that, how we accept the ugly side of people, and relationships do have an ugly side that we also have to accept. So, but I found sometimes the analysis was a bit long. I wanted to get into the next story because I found they were very like escape worthy. They're like fairy tales, they're
yeah,
folklore stories. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
really like them.
Uh-huh.
The next question I ask everyone is, what's the phrase you live by? But before that, actually, do you remember what you said last time?
God, no, tell me.
You said say yes and work out after. I just thought it was really interesting.
Wow, I feel like I haven't changed much.
Are you still saying yes to everything?
Yes. Wait, but that wouldn't have been what I said now. I'll tell you in a minute what I would say now. But I just want to say, so after my retreat, I ran my retreat recently, and then I went on a retreat.
Hmm.
And I don't know, we did a women's circle. It was
Hmm.
actually a mixed retreat, so it was men and women, so very different energy. But I really liked it. And then, but within that, we did one women retreat, and it was sorry, women's circle. And the conversation, I don't know how it got to it, was about the yes. And I said so it's slightly different from what I said before. But I said that I feel like I often follow the yes.
Ah.
So the way I see it, there is a yes out there. It's always there. There's also a no, there's also a maybe, there's also other things, but there's always a yes. And I just follow the yes. I just
Mhm.
follow it. Like I go, "Oh yes, there it is. I'm going. Ah yes, I'm going," like that. So I guess like I haven't changed much. But I would say for now, the point where I am right now is play.
Mm.
Yeah, play. Like that's my keyword at the moment is play. Just because I'm an overthinker, so I feel like that helps me. Um, you can speak about some people like go through a spiritual path, and I don't know if that's for me, or maybe I'm not ready for that, but I'm like, I'm in a playful place. Uh,
Okay.
so I like that, yeah.
But less seriousness.
Yeah, just having fun, playing, and not in like oh, I'm just having fun and I'm gonna go and do that. But you know what I mean? Just like
Hmm.
playing life, like playing, play.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. And what about any books that you're reading lately that have impacted you? Do you read?
Yes, I do, but I haven't actually read anything recently. I've got audiobooks. What was actually reading? No, I remember now. My last book was actually one of those like erotic novels.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I feel like I want to get into that because I kept seeing my algorithm keeps kind of showing me like clips from these books. And I'm like, gosh, and all these women are like raving about these books. And I thought, I'm missing something here. So I downloaded one of them. I can't remember the name, I'm sorry. And I was eventually getting into it, but it was like a slow start. I sort of like, I needed it to become juicier quicker.
Just like a man.
I was like, this is taking too long. This is too long. But yeah, I need to go back to
You
it.
think you might get dabble in that in the future?
But you see, maybe my books won't be appealing to women. Like, come on, get into it. No, I'm joking. Maybe, who knows? I do want to write fiction, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's always been my my dream. It will one day, but
Nice.
I don't know what it's gonna be yet. So maybe it's gonna be an erotic novel.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, who knows?
Did you think about living anywhere else apart from Portugal? Was there anywhere else on your
No, I mean, even
looking to?
Portugal wasn't really like on the cards. It just kind of
Mhm.
happened. But I'm so happy here. I love it here. Love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. You should come
So,
visit. Do you ever come? Like we're so
yeah,
close
because I'm
to.
actually working with Climax How, and they're based in Lisbon. Do you know Climax How? They're basically like, beducated.com. So it's the kind of a rival to Beducated. So I have a course on there and they've said, oh, come to Lisbon. So I might just pop there at some point because I've been there a few times already. And I've got the travel bug big time right now because I want to make more of the most of it, just being able to travel, nothing holding me back.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Well, anytime you're in Lisbon, please give me a shout.
I would
Yeah.
love that. Love
Yeah.
that. So let's tell us where people can people find you.
Yeah, so I'm everywhere,
Mhm.
unfortunately, but I've got a website, tovali.com, that basically has all my socials. So all the socials are at Tovali. And my book, Good Girls Gossip, is everywhere worldwide. So from Amazon to book retailers. To be honest, I've been sending people elsewhere, not Amazon. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but they can get me on Amazon as well, and obviously Audible as well, if you prefer
Okay. And
audiobooks.
what are you working on now? Next retreats and then
I've got another retreat coming up, but that's not till May 26th. I've got a show in London in July. It's the same show I did in autumn, but I promised I'd come back to London with a second one because I didn't have time to fit two in last time. So I'm doing that in now in July. And I am actually writing something new, but it's not a book. I can't really say it, but yeah, I'm working on something.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool, cool. I love how all the how you've just brought all these different skill sets that you have from being an actress and you've made it on your own terms. You talk about that as well in the book a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
Mm.
very lucky to be doing what I'm doing, that I love what I do. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I,
Amazing.
I miss podcasting though. I haven't done that
Oh,
in a very long time. Yeah. Are you loving it? You're
oh
loving
yeah,
it.
absolutely. And it's growing a lot, but I'm trying to get myself on other podcasts. So I tried to reach out to lots of guests to see if I can get on. And it's interesting how many people have stopped podcasting. There's not many people in it for the long term, and it is slow, but I find it's my most authentic expression because the orgasmic lifestyle is about reaching climax in all areas of life. So I'm
Yeah.
also I'm sober. I'm vegan. I like to talk about all these spiritual things as well,
Yeah.
personal development, meditation. So it's a real expression of where I'm at. It's more holistic than just sex. So we do sex on full moons. So now I'm just starting to work with a couple of people to try and take them to the next level because as a one woman, it's just not possible. So, but it was where my heart is in this podcast.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. No, but I think there was a point where podcasts were just like everybody was having a podcast, and maybe it was like oversaturated, but maybe now it's kind of calming down, and there's more people that are doing it like long term, which is fantastic. I really enjoyed it when I was doing it, but then we stopped and we just never went back. I don't know why. I just stopped. Yeah.
Because maybe you can do one now with the expat life as well. There's a lot to share there.
Maybe that's a new direction. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the orgasmic lifestyle. It's been orgasmic.
Thank you for having me on again. Thank you.
The series I'm watching now is 9 Perfect Strangers, which is available on Hulu and Amazon Prime or Prime Video. And I'm actually watching the second season. I loved the first season that I saw a couple of years ago. And I'm particularly drawn to anything around the wellness industry. And the premise of the 9 Perfect Strangers, which is actually based on a book, it is a retreat. And Nicole Kidman, who plays Masha, who is a Russian retreat host, hosts an incredibly original retreat, or a retreat with very, let's say, original modalities. And they really push the participants to the edge. So it's underneath this veneer of wellness and peace and love and light, there is something quite sinister lurking. And what happens over time is that she starts to kind of give the participants microdoses of different psychedelics. And at first, the participants are not really aware that they're receiving them. And then it creates FOMO. It's like, she got it, but I didn't. And where in the end, everyone's begging for it. And every episode is like a different journey. It's like a new day in the retreat center. And they're exploring a new, let's say, modality of healing. And I find that really interesting as well. I felt like I was on the retreat myself and just watching everything unfold where the characters didn't even know what was coming next. And the cinematography is absolutely stunning. I don't want to give too much away of the story, but if you are into psychedelics, I'm not into psychedelics personally, but I am into retreats, and I'm also into debunking the wellness industry. I just find it really interesting, even though I am someone who absolutely loves these kinds of things, whatever it takes to kind of reach a place of joy and peace within, there's so many ways to do that. And retreats is something that I personally love. I love to expose myself to different ways of seeing myself and discovering parts of myself that sometimes are difficult to face. Because that's the thing about retreats. It's like you can go there as a solo traveler, but you're never alone. You're going to face yourself, and you are among other people who are also on a very similar journey. So when you meet people in retreats, my experience has been that the connections are quite deep. It's not just, what's your name, where are you from, what do you do? It's kind of like, what's your name? What's your trauma? What brought you here? And then those conversations tend to be quite deep. So that's it for the first series anyway. But the second series started, and the first one, I think it was actually filmed in Australia, but it's supposed to be set in the US from my understanding. So it's very lush. It's kind of just really idyllic place. It's luxurious, very green. It's even by the sea, if I remember correctly. But the second one is in Switzerland. So you get all this, it's a very, you're going from the kind of green, sunny aesthetics to cold and snow and grey, but really stunning as well. So it took me a while to get into the second series a little bit. But now I'm really into it. And what's interesting is the way it's been delivered. For example, the first one and the second one, they didn't just deliver the whole series at once, because now we're in a culture where, there's lots of binge watching, whereas this doesn't allow you. You have to kind of wait till the next episode, which is kind of old school, but also allows for self-discipline and also just looking forward to each one. Because sometimes when you binge watch, you can kind of miss out on the details. So the 9 Perfect Strangers refers to the actual group that is there for the retreat. And apparently they are chosen because of how harmonious, or how the profiles are going to blend together and potentially clash. It is so juicy. It keeps you on the edge. And if you're into wellness, psychedelics, and just being taken on a journey of healing, I highly, highly recommend it. So check it out. 9 Perfect Strangers. I cannot wait to see how season 2 finishes. Now it's time for this episode's meditation. Please don't listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. I am attracting aligned friendships. My vibe attracts my soul tribe. I can be myself with my friends. I attract connections that are nourishing. I am surrounded by people who support me. My energy attracts authentic friendships. I am grateful for my friends. I am attracting aligned friendships. My vibe attracts my soul tribe. I feel safe to be myself in all my friendships. The right people flow into my life with ease. I release friends that no longer resonate. I create space for deeper connections. I am grateful for my friends. I am attracting aligned friendships. My vibe attracts my soul tribe. I am able to trust my friends. My vibe invites love, laughter, and joy. I am grateful for the loyalty my friends show me. Connection flows to me. I am grateful for my friends. I am attracting aligned friendships. My vibe attracts my soul tribe. My soul tribe recognizes me. I give and receive deep support. I am able to express myself authentically with my friends. My friendships are built on real trust. I am grateful for my friends. I am attracting aligned friendships. My vibe attracts my soul tribe. My friends support me. I am seen and valued. I choose nourishing bonds. Complicity comes naturally in my connections. I am grateful for my friends. Are you looking to strengthen your pelvic floor in a fun and engaging way? Introducing PeriFit, the pelvic floor trainer that combines biofeedback with interactive video games. With PeriFit, you can track your progress and improve your pelvic health while playing video games with your vagina on your smartphone. It's easy, effective, and more importantly, it's fun. And for a limited time, get 25% off with the code Venus15 at checkout. That's perifit.co and use the code Venus15 for 25% off. The link is also in the show notes. Disclaimer: consult your healthcare provider before starting any new fitness program. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram. The Orgasmic Lifestyle is also on Substack and YouTube, where you can watch all the interviews with our experts. All the links are in the show notes below. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are found. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.